What up? Marsh Pod. 2 days left before the regular season comes to a close. The seedings are all but set up. So today we're going to play a game. We're going to play it twice. We're going to play two truths and a lie. And how this is going to work is that we have a time-traveling friend that has gone into the future 3 times. And they've come back and they've told us 3 names. And they've said these are the 3 teams on different timelines that won a race to 1 championship. And we're going to say the 2 truths and we're going to say the 1 lie. And then we're going to do it again, just to spread the love here. So pretty straightforward. Figure out, do we think a team could win a championship or not? So let's start with our first batch. Our time traveler has gone up, done a little time traveling, and come back. They went to Houston on August 19th, and they've come back with news. 3 different times, 3 timelines. The first 3 teams that they've claimed win the race to 1 is Beyond the Arch, H-Town Hoopers, and Lone Star Basketball Club. They've said these are the 3 teams that won a championship. Let's start with Beyond the Arch, because I think that's the truth. I think they have a difficult matchup in the first round. OGs has not been playing well, but I actually think that's a very difficult matchup for them to face off against. Because where the Originators have been the most successful is when they've allowed Viktoras Ilgauskas to be a paint defender. And he will be a paint defender against Tyson Simpson. But here's why I think that's the truth, is because OGs has not been playing great defensively at all recently. And Tyson Simpson is the type of big man that's very difficult to slow down. Now, does it seem like I'm kind of stepping on both sides? Absolutely I am. Because I'm not a big fan of predictions. Because you're inevitably going to get them wrong. And then people are going to be like, well, you don't know anything. That's not really the point here. The point is, if Beyond the Arch is able to utilize Tyson Simpson in the right way, he might be the most unstoppable player in the league. Is he the best player? No. Is he the most talented player? No. But he might be the most unstoppable because there's very few players of his size and skill set that have the ability to slow him down. Ilgauskas might be one of the only ones, but I still like the idea of Simpson dominating. So am I predicting it? No, I'm not predicting it. But I'm saying the pathway for Beyond the Arch to win is there. All right, let's go to H-Town Hoopers. And that's going to be our truth number 2. Why? Because Keith and Carter and Tyrell Thompson are frankly good enough to get it done. There's been some chaos, but they've kind of righted the ship very much under the radar. There was a stretch where they were struggling. They weren't playing that well. And they still aren't playing incredibly well. They lost their last game, but they still are playing better. They've corrected where the ship has gone off the rails. And that's worth noting because it shows to me that they actually have talent underneath that, and they have the ability to resurrect and adjust on the fly. They have the talent as well with Tyrell Thompson and Keith and Carter to be able to win big games. At the same time, I like their matchups. They're going to start out with, they're locked into it. They're currently projected to play Lone Star Basketball Club, who we will get to in a second. If they win that game, they're going to be matched up against Best Coast and Yacht Club, the winner of that game. I've already talked about Best Coast not being a team I 100% believe in. That's a winnable game for H-Town Hoopers as it's them, and it's also a winnable game if it's against Yacht Club. And then you're into the championship game, and who knows what you're going to get, right? It could be Southeast Bay Area Showtime or SimWorld Asia Pacific. Again, I'm not predicting it, but when you look at the pathway, that's actually a really good one for H-Town Hoopers. I think it's equally good for Best Coast. It's equally good for Lone Star. And let's throw Yacht Club into that mix. I think that side of the bracket to get to the championship game of the Legend Conference is a good one, but I think H-Town can get there. Lone Star Basketball Club, that's a lie. I'm out on them. Jace Miguez remains one of the players I've liked the most in this league, but their supporting cast has been awful, just like the supporting cast for the Originators has been awful. They have not put together consistent stretches of basketball since the midseason point. Ninny Gibson continues to struggle. They have not found a secondary playmaker that can produce next to Jace Miguez. Every guy that they've relied on to pick up the slack behind and next to Jace Miguez has not done that. So at this point, it just doesn't seem likely that they're just going to suddenly flip a switch and be like, oh, now these games matter? Well, guess we're going to play good. That's not how it typically works, and it's not what I would expect to see. So the chances of them, I'm taking the out on. All right, that's our first round. Second round, because that'd be too quick for a Wednesday afternoon podcast. So the second round of Two Truths and a Lie. We're going to go with Beasts of the East, Originators, and Bay Area. All right, let's start with Bay Area. And I'm going to go with a truth. I've believed in that team. I thought it was the deepest roster. I don't know that it's not the deepest roster, but it's still an incredibly deep team that the one thing they're missing is an elite player at the top. That being said, I think they've actually set themselves up to be efficient in that matchup. They're going to get showtime in round one. Winner of that gets the winner of Southeast and APAC. While you don't love the idea of having to go through Southeast Select, of course there's the opportunity that they get stunned in the first round. We saw it happen last year with Houston and Seattle pulling big upsets. It's possible that could happen again. But the reason I bet on them is because at the end of the day, they have the most 1B talent in the league. They don't have the best 1A talent. You put Darius Outlaw on that team and it's unstoppable. You put Bronny James, DJ Wagner, Trey Turner. You put any one of those guys on the top of this roster, they're not getting beaten. But despite them not having that, they still have incredible secondary talent that is too good to just write off as a potential championship team. Originators and Beasts of the East are our other two. Let's start with the Originators. And I think both of these teams I'm very torn on, which I think is a good thing. But the Originators coming back as champions, I'm going to go with a truth. Because they are... Now again, this is not a prediction, but they still have incredible talent at the top of their roster. They can beat the best teams in the league. They've proven that, even if most recently they have not. But I can't get over the idea that this team went from winning 9 games in a row to not winning again this season. Now, again, they're matched up with Beyond the Arch in the first round, regardless of what they do, because Gotham 5 is the head-to-head. But I don't love the idea of just getting off them, because it feels like everybody's getting off them. And part of me might be saying I still believe they can win because it feels like everybody else can't or doesn't believe they can. But I'm still there on them because the upside we've seen is league leading. I'm not just going to allow 2 weeks to tear that apart. We thought we were doing that with Rocky Mountain when they lost 3 in a row, and they've lost 5 games since then. So if Originators turns it around, they'd be turning around at the best possible time. So why am I saying Beasts of the East is a lie? Well, I don't know that Fareed Redmond can be that guy. This might be a leap, but I'm very nervous about their size matchups, especially in games against teams that have size. You're going to go up against a run DMV team in the first round that has size. Nick Hugo is a problem. Obviously, Beasts of the East just beat Bad Boys basketball. But again, I've said this multiple times, I'm not on the train of Lorenzo Phenom as a good big man. Is this team great? Yeah, it's the best defensive team in the league. That alone should be enough to say that's a championship team. But my concern with them is what happens when Levin Cutler is on the bench. Do they dare play him for 32 minutes? Because I think that's the only way they can get the championship. And if that's what we're relying on to become a championship team, I don't have faith that that's going to happen. It could, but that's not the way this game is played, and that's not what I would believe in, because they haven't shown to have a superstar that can get it done. Fareed Redmond has had great games. He has not been a number one dude. And at the same time, their bench has not been great behind Levin Cutler. Now, if you're a kiss of death believer, that means Beast of the East and Lone Star meeting in the championship game. If that were to happen, I think I'd just have to accept that as fate and start using, as we tried to with the North, the powers for good. But I don't think they're winning. We'll catch you on Friday.